On February 24, 1978, five friends drove to Chico, California. That evening, they watched a college basketball game. They laughed, cheered, and enjoyed the night together. The next morning, they were supposed to play in their own basketball tournament. It was a big day for them. Friends and family later said they were excited. None of them had any reason to disappear. But before sunrise, every single plan they had would suddenly come to an end. After the game, the five friends stopped at a local convenience store. They bought snacks, soft drinks, and chocolate bars. Everything seemed completely normal. The store clerk remembered seeing them. Nothing looked unusual. Then they got back into their car and started driving home. But somehow, instead of taking the familiar road home, their car headed deep into the mountains, a place they had no reason to visit, and no one knows why. Days later, a forest ranger discovered something strange. A green Mercury Montego sitting alone on a remote mountain road. The car wasn't crashed. It wasn't badly damaged. It still had enough fuel to keep driving. The doors were unlocked. The windows were down. Inside, the snacks were still there. The car looked as if its owners had simply stepped out and never came back. Police searched the area around the car. There were no signs of a struggle, no evidence of another vehicle. Nothing suggested anyone had forced them to leave, yet all five men had walked away. They left behind a working car, warm clothing, and their only easy way home. Every step they took led farther into the freezing wilderness. The question that still haunts investigators today is simple. Why would anyone willingly walk away from safety into a deadly mountain storm? As soon as the abandoned car was found, search teams moved into the mountains. Police officers, forest rangers, volunteers. Everyone hoped the five friends had simply become lost. But the weather was against them. Heavy snow covered the roads. Temperatures dropped below freezing. Every passing hour made survival less likely. Then searchers found something, a trail of footprints leading away from the car. But before long, the snow had erased them. The trail simply disappeared. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The mountains gave no answers. Families waited, hoping someone would return home, but no one did. Many people began believing the five friends would never be found. Then, nearly 4 months later, a group riding motorcycles through the mountains noticed an old Forest Service trailer. What they found inside changed the entire investigation. Inside the trailer, investigators found the body of one of the five men. It was 25-year-old Ted Wire. He had survived for weeks after entering the trailer. There were beds, blankets, heating equipment, and enough canned food to last for months. But something made no sense. Most of that food had never been opened. The heater had never been turned on. It was as if help had been sitting only a few steps away, yet no one used it. Investigators could not understand it. The trailer contained food, shelter, warm clothing, everything needed to survive. Yet somehow, those supplies were barely touched. Why? Did the men not know they were there? Were they too frightened to search? Or had something happened long before they reached the trailer? That single question still remains one of the greatest mysteries of the entire case. Medical examiners carefully examined Ted Wire's body. Their findings revealed something heartbreaking. Ted had not died immediately, based on the condition of his beard and weight loss. Investigators believed he had survived for several weeks inside the trailer. His feet had become badly frostbitten. Without proper medical care, he was no longer able to walk. Someone had wrapped his feet with sheets and blankets. It was clear. Ted had not been alone when he first arrived. Someone had tried to help him. But who? As the search continued, investigators found more answers, not far from the trailer. They discovered the remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling. Both had died from exposure to the freezing weather. A short distance away, the remains of Gary Mathias's tennis shoes were found inside the trailer. This created another mystery. Gary had been wearing leather shoes when he disappeared. At some point, he had changed into Ted Wire's shoes, but Gary himself was nowhere to be found. Of the five friends, only one completely disappeared, Gary Mathias. Despite extensive searches, investigators never found his body. No clothing, no backpack, no clear trail, nothing. More than 4 decades later, Gary Mathias remains officially missing. His disappearance is one of the biggest unanswered questions. Did he keep walking? Did he become lost in the mountains? Or did something happen that investigators never discovered? As investigators reviewed every piece of evidence, the mystery only grew deeper. Why had the group abandoned a working car? Why had they walked miles into dangerous mountains at night? Why were emergency supplies left untouched? And why was Gary Mathias never found? Even today, no investigation has been able to answer those questions. The Yuba County Five became known by another name, the American Dyatlov Pass. But unlike many mysteries, this one left behind real evidence that still refuses to tell the whole story. With no clear explanation, people began searching for answers. One theory suggested the 5 friends had simply become lost, but investigators questioned that idea. Most of the roads leading into the mountains were clearly marked, and the men had driven nearly 70 miles away from the route they should have taken home. Another theory claimed they had become frightened by someone, but investigators found no evidence of another vehicle, no signs of violence, and no proof that anyone had chased them into the forest. The deeper the investigation went, the fewer answers it found. Investigators paid special attention to Gary Mathias. Unlike the other 4 men, Gary had served in the US Army. He knew how to survive outdoors better than his friends. He was also being treated for schizophrenia. According to his family, he had been taking his medication regularly and had been doing well before the trip. Investigators never concluded that his medical condition caused the group's disappearance. There was simply not enough evidence to support that claim. Even today, no one knows what role, if any, Gary played in the final hours of the group. One witness reported seeing unusual activity that night. Joseph Shons, a man driving through the mountains, told investigators that he became stuck. While waiting for help, he claimed he saw lights in the distance. He also reported seeing a group of people. However, because it was dark and the weather was extremely harsh, investigators could not confirm exactly who he had seen. His account remains one of the most debated parts of the case. More than 40 years have passed. The evidence has been examined countless times. Investigators, journalists, authors, and thousands of people have all tried to solve the mystery. Yet the same questions remain. Why did 5 friends leave a perfectly working car? Why walk into freezing mountains at night? Why leave life-saving supplies untouched? And what really happened to Gary Mathias? No theory has answered every question. And that is exactly why the Yuba County Five remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. The Yuba County Five was never officially solved. No arrests were made. No suspect was ever identified. And investigators never found a single piece of evidence proving exactly what happened after the 5 friends left their car. Over the years, many theories have appeared, but none of them explain every fact. Some answers fit one piece of evidence, only to create another mystery somewhere else. Even today, the same questions continue to puzzle investigators. What made the group drive nearly 70 miles away from their planned route? Why did they abandon a car that could still have been driven? Why were emergency supplies inside the trailer left almost untouched? And perhaps the biggest mystery of all, what happened to Gary Mathias? His body has never been found. Without those answers, the final hours of the Yuba County Five remain a mystery. Nearly 5 decades have passed since that cold February night. Families searched for answers. Investigators followed every lead they could find. Authors and researchers studied the case for years, yet no explanation has ever been accepted as the complete truth. The Yuba County Five is remembered not only because 5 young men disappeared, but because the evidence they left behind still refuses to fit together. Sometimes, the most disturbing mysteries are not the ones with no clues. They are the ones with clues that simply refuse to make sense. The Yuba County Five remains one of America's most haunting unsolved mysteries. A simple trip to a basketball game ended with questions that still have no clear answers. What do you think happened that night? Share your theory in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring the world's greatest unsolved mysteries, subscribe for more documentaries every week, because sometimes the truth is far stranger than fiction.